Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks again, Nicholas, for the opportunity to present here and in Sydney earlier in the week to talk about New World Resources at the Summer Series, which is a terrific event. Very pleased to be presenting to you all here today. New World is in a very exciting stage of its development as we transition to be a project developer and get our high-grade Antler copper project in northwestern Arizona into production. It's a great time to be building a mine in the US with political support at all levels of government, and also securing critical mineral supply chains in the US is more important than ever. As a company, New World has two primary corporate objectives. The first one, as I mentioned, is to get Antler back into production as quickly as possible. And the secondly, to continue to expand our company's high-grade resource base through ongoing exploration. Since we acquired Antler in March 2020, the company has drilled extensively at Antler and outlined a mineral resource that's in the top 4% globally, at 4.1% copper equivalent. We've proven with our PFS released in July this year that we have one of the best standalone copper development stories in the world, and therefore we're rapidly advancing it into development. Notwithstanding that, New World has significant resource endowment across both of its project areas at Antler and nearby at Javelin, and will continue to explore these areas over the coming 24 months. As a company, we have a very strong board featuring a diverse skill set across geology, mining, project finance, and importantly, strong project development experience in Australia and in the US. We're very lucky to have Resource Capital Funds and CBUS Super on our register, and we have extensive high-quality research coverage from a variety of parties, all of which have price targets on multiples higher than where we are today. We have just over $11 million in the bank at the end of September, and with all this in mind, and given our leverage to the upswing in copper price predicted over the second half of this decade, we are significantly undervalued. From a mine development perspective, New World's tenements are in prime real estate. We're in very sparsely populated northwest Arizona. We're about an hour and a half south of the city of Las Vegas and near the major regional centre of Kingman, Arizona. Arizona is a state that has more than 70,000 people working in the mining industry and is home to some 70% of the US's copper output. We're close to established infrastructure, we have access to water, we have access to renewable power, and we have direct access to export and domestic copper smelting markets on interstate highways and transcontinental railway. Our Javelin tenements are located 75 kilometres away, and any ore that we do find at these projects can ultimately be processed through the Antler processing facility. We have a very low-risk permitting regime with nearby precedents from mines permitted on federal land from start to finish in 18 months. There's significant government and community support for mining and general project development in the area, and in my view, there's no better place to be building a copper project. So New World released our PFS in July this year for Antler, as I mentioned, showing it's a high-margin, very high-grade copper project with low capital intensity. Antler's timing to development, being construction in 2026 and production in 2027, is coincident with a looming global copper supply shortage. As a summary, the PFS outlined the development of a 1.2 million tonne a year underground mine and processing operation, producing an average of 30,000 tonnes of copper equivalent in 3 separate concentrates per annum. We have a 12.5-year mine life and modest capital costs of about $300 million for a life of mine revenue of $3.2 billion and NPV of $630 million US dollars, or, to put it another way, about 16 times our current market cap. We've outlined a project that is best practice across all regards, using low-impact underground mining, using paste backfill and dry stack tailings, and also using 30% renewable power by the time this mine is into production. We've been drilling extensively at the project since March 2020, and since that time completed about 70,000 metres of drilling. The drilling was used to define the Antler resource, which at a 1% cut-off grade is 11.4 million tonnes at 4.1% copper equivalent, of which 79% is indicated, and this formed the basis of the PFS released in July. This is a very high-grade and very continuous ore body that's open at depth. In fact, the deepest hole drilled in the ore body, which you won't be able to see but is up there at 10.7 metres at 14% copper equivalent, is outside our current resource, and there remains compelling exploration upside at depth and to the south, which we'll drill once we're underground. Given we've outlined a 12-plus year mine life already, with our PFS, we're rapidly proceeding to development. Almost all of our infrastructure is located on private land, which is a significant advantage when building a mine in the US. This mine was also a past producer, producing up until the 1970s, and produced a modest 70,000 tonnes of copper in concentrate at a grade of 5% copper. Given it is a disturbed site with existing disturbance, this will also be a significant advantage as we try and permit our project over the course of next year. We're building an underground-only mine with 45% of our tailings going back underground as paste fill, and the remainder stored in a dry stack tailings storage facility. Current mine life's 12 years and our ROM head grade is 3%, which is pretty high by global standards. And importantly, we have strong certainty in our mine plan, with 83% of our mining inventory classified as probable reserves. We've undertaken extensive met test work since acquiring the project, with 3 separate test work programs, culminating in our PFS test work program in July, utilising lock cycle testing across representative samples from across the entire deposit. It's a conventional polymetallic crush grind float circuit to produce 3 clean concentrates with no penalty elements. We've undertaken market soundings with all of the large copper and zinc off-takers globally as part of the PFS, however, importantly, no off-take agreements are in place at this time. Antler has direct access to export markets through the Port of Guaymas in Mexico, which is a significant concentrate export facility, and also the Port of Long Beach in California. In addition, and importantly, there's direct access and ability to sell concentrate to 2 domestic copper smelters, which we have direct access to via Transcontinental Railway. Both of these smelters are short copper concentrate at the moment, and at a time where critical mineral supply chains in the US are of the utmost importance, this is a significant advantage for Antler as we go into production. We have a lot of flexibility in terms of our offtake and ongoing discussions and terms in place. However, we're in no rush to do a deal on our offtake until we need to finance this project later next year. Total pre-production capital is about $300 million US, which includes $30 million of contingency and forecast direct OPEX of $77 a tonne. Our C1 costs are around 12 cents a pound when you consider our co-product credits, or an all-in sustaining cost of about 50 cents. All in all, this is a high-margin project and will generate significant cash flow over its initial mine life and beyond. At our PFS price assumptions, we generate very strong returns for our shareholders, including free cash flow per annum of about $115 million a year, or 10 multiples of our current market cap. These cash flows will allow us to have a significant debt component to our capital structure, about $200 million US, and importantly, given we are producing about 8% of our revenue as precious metals, we have options in how to refund the remainder of our capital requirement through precious metal streaming and the like. This will allow us to explore non-equity dilutive structures to finance this project over the course of 2025. Developing a project on patented mining claims and on private land in the US is a significant advantage, and coupled with the fact that we're taking a best practice approach across all aspects of our project development, our permitting process is fairly straightforward. In addition to our mine plan of operations being our key federal permit submitted in January 2024, we've submitted and have completeness determinations on all of our key long lead time state permits that are required to commence operations. It's anticipated that all of these permits will be in place by the end of next year and will allow us to construct the project in 2026 and be producing in 2027. There's exceptionally strong support locally, at the state level and federally for new mining projects in the US at the moment, particularly for projects like Antler that will be securing domestic critical minerals supply chains, as I mentioned before. We've had recent site visits from key local and federal politicians, including our representative in the US Federal Congress, Representative Paul Gosar, who visited us during election week recently and has expressed his support numerous times publicly for our project. This is a chap who's on the House Natural Resources Committee and a very big and a very influential figure in the new Republican government. Antler has significant support at all levels of government. Turning now to regional exploration. Across our tenement portfolio, New World has significant untested exploration potential, including 8 past producing VMS deposits, of which 2 are nearby to Antler and 6 are located at our Javelin project 75 kilometres away, where we have a 5,000 acre land package. All of these past producers are of relatively modest size, as Antler was. However, all have exceptional grades of greater than 5% copper equivalent. And given the propensity of VMSs to occur in clusters, the likelihood of finding more high-grade mineralisation is high. We're currently in the middle of a detailed exploration review and fieldwork programs following our 2024 drilling programs, and we've appointed one of the world's leading VMS experts out of the University of Colorado to assist with this process, which is starting to pay some serious dividends. We'll be looking to recommence drilling at the end of Q1 2025 to target some of these new targets outlined through this process. At Antler, we have multiple geochemical and geophysical targets along strike that we'll be drilling early next year. There's significant exploration potential within the shadows of the Antler headframe, and we'll be undertaking targeted exploration following our review of these areas in 2025. This includes 3 kilometre long copper and zinc in soil anomalies and also significant coincident IP anomalies nearby to Antler. The Pinafore deposit is part of our Javelin land package 75 kilometres away from Antler, which is a past-producing VMS with a historic mineral resource of 630,000 tonnes at 3.4% copper and 7.1% zinc. Again, very high-grade mineralisation within trucking distance of Antler. This project is located also on privately owned land, and there's significant alteration over 1,200 metres of strike where this past resource is outlined. Recently, we've announced some exciting drill results at Javelin, and we'll be following these up next year. Over the course of 2025, we have a lot to do at New World. We've got significant project development progress, exploration success anticipated, and consequently significant news flow. Our permits will be granted over the course of next year, as well as resource model updates and the company sourcing funding solutions for the project over the course of the first half of 2025. Once our definitive feasibility study is completed at the end of next year, the project will be construction ready, and our US-based project development team will be ready to execute. All the while, we're continuing with exploration in an area rich in VMS endowment. In summary, Antler has all the hallmarks of the ASX's next significant copper producer. We have outstanding projects, both from development and exploration. We have very robust economics at Antler with a standalone, high-margin, low-capital intensity development plan, and importantly, we have exceptional timing. We have near-term production coincident with the emerging copper supercycle and significant news flow related to development and exploration. Many thanks for your attendance, and happy to have a conversation next door if time allows. Thank you. Thank you.